This is my HK45 Tactical. I have a rugged obsidian 45 caliber pistol suppressor and wanted another 45 ACP suppressor host. My other one is a 1911 I built on aluminum frame. I went with the HK45 for many reasons, the primary being that I have an HK P30 and I absolutely love it. I knew they shared the same basic internals and ergonomics. I also knew I would be able to do some work to it and get a nice trigger out of it like I had with my P30. I went with the HK45 over the Mark 23 because the Mark 23 is too expensive, and I picked this over the USP because this has a 1913 rail on the dust cover, whereas the USP has a proprietary rail system. Unfortunately, this gun only holds 10 rounds, which is more than a 1911, but less than a USP and many other modern double-stack 45 ACP pistols. The 10-round magazines are a bit narrower, which allows the grip to be narrower, which contributes to the excellent ergonomics. Luckily, HK Parts sells these extensions for the magazines, and they bring the capacity up to 13 rounds, which is reasonable. The first thing I needed to figure out was if I wanted the V1 double single action with the safety decocker lever or the V7 LEM trigger system. This is the V1 configuration that is double single action. It has a combination thumb safety decocking lever. You could carry this pistol cocked and locked like a 1911, or use the decocker to drop the hammer for a double action first pull. The thumb safety feels very nice. It's very positive. The lever has a nice stiff detent before dropping to decock the hammer. This is very well designed on pistols with a thumb safety. The way I learned to shoot them was to ride the safety with my thumb, just like this. This can also help mitigate some recoil by putting downward pressure on the lever. I was worried that when the gun recoiled, it would force the lever up into my thumb, making me decock the hammer unintentionally. Luckily, I did not have that problem when shooting this due to the good design of this decocking function of the safety lever. However, there are two reasons I will be running the V7 LEM and not this V1 configuration. One, the end of the safety lever hits my thumb in an odd way under recoil and it kind of hurts. This little nub right here digs in right to the side of my thumb bone, right there, whenever it recoils. And two, my opinion is that double single action pistols should not have thumb safeties. Only hammer fired single action pistols should have thumb safeties like the 1911. If the pistol is double action, and especially if it's designed for duty, concealed carry, or defensive purposes, it should only have a decocker. I bought this pistol as a V1 double single action and bought the universal LEM conversion kit so I could try both trigger systems and pick which one I liked best. After shooting them both, and due to the issues I had with the thumb safety that I just mentioned, I'm going to keep the LEM trigger system in this pistol. Now, to dial in this trigger, I'm going to install the same parts I did in my P30 and polish the trigger components. I will be installing a Gray Guns short reset kit, reduced power mainspring, and a nickel-plated match sear spring. Before the trigger work, get a baseline of the trigger pull weight, 6 pounds, 6 pounds, 6 pounds. Here's what the action looks like. Long but light take up to the wall. Little bit of creep. Crisp break. Not much over travel. Resets not all that long either. I think out of the box this thing had a better trigger than my P30 did for whatever reason. They pretty much have the same internals. But I really like the LEM action, and if you ride the reset of the trigger like you're arguably supposed to when shooting a pistol, it's pretty much just going to feel like a single action. But of course, when you let your finger off the trigger, you have a nice long pole that you have to be very deliberate with to get to the wall and be ready to fire it. For the polishing work on these internals, I touched up the ends of the mainspring, the new mainspring, a little bit. I polished the end of the hammer strut where it interacts with the cocking piece. And then this is the new control latch from Gray Guns. It's got MP3 coating on it, so I'm not touching that. Here's the sear. I knocked down high spots on this face, knocked down some high spots here, and then also tried to get a little polish in right here, which is the sear face that interacts with the cocking piece. Knock down high spots on both sides of this guy. Knock down high spots on both sides of this guy, and I'll lube these up with a little bit of grease going back together. Pretty much these all just stack up in there and pivot and slide with respect to one another, so I just want to make sure they have really smooth sides on them and no high spots or burrs or machining marks that are going to cause excess friction. So all that stuff is good to go. We are all back together here. Let's see what we got done. The Gray Guns kit does come with a reduced power firing pin block spring, so that's where it engages right there, and I can barely feel it. Before there was some pretty obvious stacking. So getting up to the wall feels the same. Creep feels about the same. I think there's less over travel. The reset is definitely shorter. And the trigger pull is a lot lighter. This is feeling really good. The reset is a lot smoother as well due to polishing those parts out. So let's see what the weight came out to be. 4.5. Just over 4.5. 4.5. I did have to buy a 16x1 left-hand threaded piston for my Rugged Obsidian 45 caliber suppressor. This is not the standard 0.578 by 28 thread pitch of American 45 caliber barrels. I'm blown away by the performance of this pistol. It is the best shooting 45 ACP that I've ever got my hands on. As you can tell by the shooting footage, it kind of looks like it recoiled like 9mm, and that's about how it felt. It's a fantastic suppressor host, and I know this thing is going to be bomb-proof, unbelievably reliable, and eat any ammo I put through it. I'm very happy with the trigger upgrades, the LEM trigger system, and the work that I did make it just really easy to shoot accurately. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Do you have any 45 HK pistols? What's your favorite one? I always like hearing from you guys. Thanks again.